everybody. Dan Illman and Mike Beer. We're going to kick off the 50-cent pick 5 at Oaklawn Park for Friday's race of the day, the 5th. We're going a mile and a 16th. This race is for Arkansas breds, and we're running for a $104,000 purse. Let's take a look at this field. And considering the amount of money in this race, no surprise it's a big field of 11. It's a pretty wide open race. So what I found most interesting on the first pass, Mike, is that you have several horses in here stretching out off sprints, and that could affect the pace dynamic.
Yeah, I agree with that. This is one of those races where maybe more than anything else, then I think you just kind of want to keep an open mind. The pace could be fast. The distance is a real question mark for just about everybody in here. And the morning line favorite drew the far outside post with speed. I mean, I think this is the kind of race where you don't want to be too quick in dismissing horses.
It's a very good point. That number 11, Truly a Rocket, 3-1 on the morning line. Rafael Bejarano, first off the Jerry Hollendorfer claim, is expected to be on the lead according to our friends at Timeform US. We throw up the pace projector. There's your red bar fast pace scenario. Truly a Rocket's going to have to be hustled out of there to get to the front, and directly inside of him is a horse with speed as well. That's Amazing Debate, stretching back out in distance. So this pace could certainly heat up.
Yeah, I won't be surprised if they do wind up going a fast pace in this race. Did I think the 11 was the horse to beat? Probably, Dan, but I didn't think that she had, some kind of huge edge.
Yet another stretch out sprinter is the number 1 Mocha Kiss, making her third start since May. She had 2 sprint preps, and while she didn't really run very well in either one of them, it's worth looking back in your lifetime formulator past performances. She's run pretty well going 2 turns in the past, and this inside draw allows her to save valuable ground.
Yeah, I like that she drew inside. Boy, I think you probably wish that she came into this race in a little bit better form. Her last 2 starts really aren't that good since she came back off the layoff there. So we'll see if she can improve. I think the one thing that could give you a little bit of hope here at a big price, Dan, is the last time they went this distance on this track nearly a year ago, she ran really, really well that day. From a far outside post that day, that pace was really fast. She was dueling for a long way, still there in deep stretch, and just got nailed by 2 deep closers. If she can run like that against this field, she can win.
Another filly going 2 sprints to a route in the third start of the form cycle is the number 2, Chai T, who finished a grinding third against open $50,000 starters in this race, going 3/4 of a mile 12 days ago. She was pinched back at the start of this race, was last early. The jock did everything right, saved ground most of the way, eases out in the stretch, and gets up to finish a non-threatening third. The distance is a question for this filly stretching out, but she is more of a late running type, I think, even with the additional distance, and she might get the right setup.
Yeah, we'll see if it sets up for her, and then if she can take advantage. She's one of a few horses in here, Dan, who I just sort of felt like had that look of a closing sprinter, the kinds of horses that I really am reluctant to take as they stretch out in distance. They've gone 2 turns on the dirt with her 3 times, all 3 times buyers in the 20s. I realized that one of those was a stakes race, but still, I think it's a real question about how far she wants to go.
Courtney Fay is the number 3. Her last race was a sprint. She was in for the waiver that day. I think they used that race for fitness. She has won at a mile around 2 turns in the past. That was at Remington Park in August. I think we're going to see a sharper Courtney Fay this time around. She's going to be a big price. The question is she fast enough to take advantage?
Exactly. Will she get the right trip, even if they do get her forward in this race? Is the trip going to really work out for her? And then I guess also, Dan, she's one of the few horses in here. I mean, it's almost all claiming races for her. And now they're going to step her up in class a little bit. I mean, she fits on her last couple of races going long, but it does feel like she's up in class here.
Keep an eye on the number 4, CC Harbor, going turf to dirt off a 4-month layoff. Here's the last time she made the turf to dirt move at Louisiana Downs. Now, she's already a tired second. She battled for the lead with this winner. She was 3-5 this day. She just couldn't step with the winner. She tries hard to finish second. What I found interesting is that when she ran at Oaklawn against Arkansas breds in the beginning of 2022, she ran a much improved race from off the pace at 21-1, and I think they're going to revert to those tactics here.
It'll be interesting to see what she does, because I agree that, switching to dirt and going long again here could work for her. I feel like she did run some okay races even on turf last summer. That race that you're talking about here last March, Dan, that's the Mocha Kiss race. This filly got bumped between horses at the start, was totally outrun in a race where they just went really fast in front of her. I personally thought she took advantage that day and just got up for second, but still, she could get a similar setup here.
Similarly, the Five River Crest girl goes turf to dirt off a 4-month layoff. Now, her only lifetime victory came on turf. We're going to go back to a race 3 starts back on the grass, going 7.5 at Louisiana Downs, where she shows a decent kick in this maiden race. This race preceded her maiden victory 2 starts back at Louisiana Downs. I'm not willing to give up on her as a dirt horse, though, Mike, because 4 back on dirt, she ran 3rd behind 2 next out winners, and they were sharp. The winner came back to score a first level allowance at Remington with a 70 buyer. The runner-up would win her next 3.
I agree with all that. I mean, it just feels like not only did she run at least as well on dirt as she did on turf, it kind of feels like she improved stretching out too. And now she gets to route on dirt for the first time here in a field where it looks like she fits right in.
The 6, Sweetness 2, is going to repeat the sprint to route move that resulted in her maiden win at Oaklawn Park back in May. This is her second start off of a lengthy layoff, and she ran quite well in her most recent start, finishing 3rd in a condition claimer. Now she's up in class, but she has the tactical speed to be close to the pace.
Yeah, maybe she just takes a little bit of a step forward here. Second off the layoff. Last time against 2 life claimers. No big excuse, I didn't think, Dan. She took on the runner-up around the turn. They dueled through the stretch. The winner came from just behind them and closed them down at the end. I mean, I guess she ran fine in there. I thought she had to improve again.
The big price on the 7, War Music. She was 51-1 when they tried this level last time out, and she completely missed the break, going 3/4 of a mile. So if you want to give her that excuse, fine. I still believe she needs to prove she can step with these sort of horses. Beaten in claiming competition at Hawthorne 2 starts back. Just not a fan of that circuit.
I agree with you. I can't really get behind her form. I think there's a way to look at her on paper and say she might even be a better turf horse, which obviously she doesn't get to run on here at Oaklawn. I don't know. I thought she was hard to make a case for.
The 6s blow some smoke, and she was claimed out of this victory, going 3/4 of a mile against Arkansas-bred 2 life 20,000 claimers. As you can see, the race is contested over a muddy track. She's on the outside. She's going to grind them down to win at odds on. I do think it's interesting that immediately off the claim, they stretch her out for the first time.
Yeah, and that's a big question for another horse, who we were talking, sort of like the one we were talking about before, Dan. Kind of feels like a closing sprinter. And I don't like taking those horses when they stretch out. Very game to close that race down last time, but that's the Sweetness 2 race, where they sort of dueled in front of her, and this filly came running late and just got there.
Up out of the state-bred 10,000 claiming ranks is the 9, Flowers for Chantel, another horse making her second start off the layup, another horse stretching out in distance. She's at least proven over this distance. Her last races, a few races, however, her buyers pale in comparison to those of the truly main contenders.
Yeah, it comes into this, and it looks like pretty weak form. The win 3 back was around 2 turns on the main track, but it was scheduled for turf, a short field. The figure suggests she's a contender here. I kind of want to see her do it.
Amazing Debate is the 10, and I really think Amazing Debate is a horse you want to consider at a price. It took her 8 times to break her maiden, but she did so off of a long layoff without blinkers. Maybe she just needed a little bit of time to grow up and fully mature. She got the right pace set up that day, but she won pretty comfortably, and I still think there's some upside.
Yeah, I won't argue with any of that. We'll see what she does here, stretching out for her second start off the layoff. Dan, I do respect that they never ran her for a tag so far in her career. It's not something you can say about any of the other horses. The one thing that bothers me about the maiden win last time, it kind of feels like it wasn't a good race. The second and third finishers were both first-time starters. They were both big prices in there, and it just kind of feels like Amazing Debate was just in the right spot.
Truly a rocket is the number 11, claimed out of her last race by Hollendorfer. She's the morning line favorite. Here's her runner-up effort for a dime seller for Arkansas Breds back on January the 6th. And in this race 3 weeks ago, she took her shot at the leaders on the turn, Mike, but couldn't seal the deal.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't really see a huge excuse for her in here. It felt like she just kind of ran to a similar level that she's been running to her whole life, Dan. Another horse that I think you have to worry about the distance, especially at a short price from the outside post. Her good race obviously gives her a real chance in here, but I wouldn't take too short a price on her.
Before we take a look at our top selections, please click the subscribe button on the Daily Racing Form YouTube channel for all the latest DRF videos. Top pick time, kickoff leg, 50-cent pick 5, Oaklawn Park on Friday. Wide open race. I'm going to try to beat the favorite, the 11, stretching out. I do like your pick, Mike. A big price. Mocha Kiss should be running late.
Yeah, I just hope that she can get a good spot here from the rail and maybe just avoid dueling like she did the last time they went this distance on this track. And the more I looked at the race, the more I just felt like it's wide open. I do not want to settle for a short price. And I feel like this horse could be a little underrated.
Chai T is going to have to prove herself at this distance. She has to prove that she's not one of those late running sprinters, but I do think she'll get the setup, and she seems to be coming into this race in good form for her third start off the layoff. 1-2-5-11 for Mike, 2-4-5-11 for me. It's Friday's DRF race of the day, the 5th at Oaklawn Park. Best of luck.